the start of the pandemic, what I call my sister from another mother, Principal Tammy Taylor, and I started Create and Educate LLC. And the reason we started that platform, the platform we started was the collaborative. What we were seeing was that we were both educators, we were both educational leaders. We were hearing a lot from students, teachers, and parents, the complaints of, it's too much work being sent home. The parents didn't really understand how to work with their children. The children were frustrated. Everybody was frustrated, but no one was really talking to one another, just more about one another and pointing fingers. So we started the collaborative in order to minimize that, to bring everyone into the same space, and to bring awareness to what needed to happen during the pandemic in order for our students to best be educated with the help of parents and the educators that were sending them, the work that was needing to be done at home. In 20 years, I hope to have accomplished a lot. Definitely inspiring others, definitely an inspiration and example for not just my two daughters, but several other girls in the community and in other places that I work with, people that I mentor, educators that I mentor. But I really hope that I have made an impact on education and children. We have a program through Create and Educate called the Knowledge Academy for Girls, and it focuses on providing cultural relevant education specifically for girls, but we also work with a partner who focuses on African American males. We were able to raise our school report card grade levels, 2 grade levels in 1 year. A lot of the basis of that had to do with making sure that cultural relevant pedagogy, literacy, the knowledge was there for students. So we really have placed a great deal of that in our program, the Knowledge Academy for Girls. And the person that we work with, we're partnering for the young men, is doing the same thing for young men as well. It's so important for African American girls and males to understand exactly who they are. And a lot of times that is not taught in school. They see imagery that is, not very representative of who they actually are. They really don't know their true culture, true heritage, that so many things that are here in our culture was derived from the ancient culture of Africa. So when you know that, you operate differently. And when we really start to educate our children, they will know who they are and can come into their own. So in 20 years, I hope that several children have been inspired to be able to do.
Happy Saturday, everyone. Welcome to the REALL Academy. Good morning, Tammy.
Good morning. Happy Saturday.
Thank you all for joining us in the REALL Academy, and definitely welcome to our regular REALL Academy family members. Tammy, if you don't mind doing the comments, and then I'll do the other stuff. But thank you all for continuing to join us every Saturday at 10:30. If this is your first time joining the REALL Academy, I'm Dr. Sheikah Houston, and my trustmate in education, Dr. Tammy Taylor, and I were affectionately referred to by Principal Kafele as the two doctors. We bring you the REALL Academy every Saturday because we like to pay it forward, being that help for school leaders that we needed, providing those roadmap question answers and answering questions that a lot of people really need answers to. So the REAL acronym is based on Create and Educate's 5 super strengths for real resilient schools. The acronym stands for REAL, excellence, accountability, literacy, and leadership. And you can see a picture of the framework here on the frame right above our heads. And we're going to show a little bit more of it later. But today we're going to be talking about effective leadership, aligning the work, because that is something that a lot of people in leadership struggle with. There are so many things thrown at school leaders nowadays. Some people refer to it as that alphabet soup, MTSS, PLCs, We have strategic plans, we have budget meetings, you have your regular day-to-day management of things, you got student behaviors, communication plans, professional development plans. There are so many things thrown at school leaders, and I
SRP, CSI,
yeah,
ATSI, TSI.
it's so many things. We could probably do a whole show just on that. But and I think one study showed talked about how many decisions school leaders make in a day because all of those things are being thrown at you. You do have to know how to make hate great decisions quickly. Um, and you have to be able to know how to pivot, and you have to mainly what we're talking about today is knowing how to make all of those things align. And the first thing that you have to be able to align to something is a vision. If your school does not have a sound vision that the leader has effectively communicated to all of the stakeholders, no one really knows what to align to. So, if you all would, in the comments, just tell us what some of your school visions are. I did a professional development not too long ago with a group of leaders, and I think pretty much everyone in the room struggled with what their vision was, or if they knew what the vision was, they struggled with articulating it. So, being able to articulate the vision is just important as having one, because when you're communicating what you want people to align to, you have to be able to say that. You have to be able to know what it is and know how to make those things align. So if you all would in the comments just put list what some of your school visions are. And when I was in the building, my vision was 1.5 years of growth for every student. That was something that I learned from Principal Hurt. And one of the problems that I think administrators have a lot of times when something makes sense, or when something is probably good to adopt, we go out on limbs and we say, oh, well, that person came up with that, or she came up with that. I need to come up with something different. We spend a lot of time trying to recreate the wheel when people who have done the work successfully, have done a lot of the research that goes behind that and have been successful. Why recreate the wheel? If something works and it fits for your school, don't spend time trying to make something different in the name of, oh, I have to make a name for myself as a leader that I came up with this. That's, I think, a mistake or misstep that leaders make. What do you think, Tammy?
I think that the scripture says that without a vision, the people perish. So, in order to sustain what is going to happen in your school or in your school community, you have to have a vision for what you expect to see happening in that school. Now, I do think that um, buy-in is important, and I'm not
Mm-hmm.
really buy-in isn't really what you need. You just kind of need a commitment. And so one of the first things I did when I got to our school was I took the current vision, like you said,
Mm-hmm.
because it's really not that serious to say that I came up with a vision.
Mm-hmm.
And during my leadership retreat that year, we dissected that vision to see, is this where we see the school going? And we made adjustments to that in order for it to match the direction that we were heading in. Now, we didn't just, as you say, recreate an entirely different vision, but there were aspects of what we wanted to see happening within the
Mm-hmm.
building. And my original plan, of course, was to come in and go straight to the vision of moving the school academically, as Principal Hurt says, changing the tide with the academic needle moving forward. But there was some culture work that had to be done.
Mm-hmm.
So we really focus primarily on belonging and creating that sense of being at Great Falls Elementary for that first year with the leadership team. And then each one of them were responsible for a group within the school, so that we took that back and everybody had a voice
Mm-hmm.
in creating the vision. And I think that helps because once you are in that space, everybody knows what's expected, just like you said,
Mm-hmm.
and everybody knowing what's expected, and that did include parents,
Right.
allows for us to all work for a common good.
Definitely. And thank you to those of you that put your visions in the comments. Principal Hurt said his vision was 1.5 years of growth in math and ELA based on the district's assessment. And Principal Sherrod Law said we aspire to be the highest performing school in the area by 20 percentage points. So those are great because they are measurable and very easily communicated, so everyone would know what the expectations are, and you're already building in that growth and focusing on academic achievement because you have that built into your vision, which are components of making a great vision. And I
Mhm.
think this comment is also important, that Edwin stated, it's a process, not an event. Look at where things are and where things need to be. Sometimes adjustment is better than starting over. And I think that's what you talked about when you went to start at the school at Great Falls
Mhm.
Elementary. And to add to that, you're definitely right. The vision has to be a shared vision. It can't be that what I call the George Jefferson syndrome, that you're walking in and your hands are sashaying behind your back and you are the new boss in charge and you're going to tell everybody what's going on. It has to be a shared vision because if no one buys into it, one person can't implement a vision by themselves.
And if I have a vision and nobody's working towards it, then guess what? It's just my vision. And it
Exactly.
doesn't help the school at all. So I really think that it was also a validation of the fact, because another thing that happens when you were promoted within your school family, so everybody
Mhm.
knew, you knew exactly what the dynamics were, and you could appreciate the foundation that you guys already had. But what
Mhm.
I've discovered is, as coming in a new person into an established setting,
Mhm.
people are waiting for you to discredit what they've been doing, or to act as if what we've been doing isn't good enough.
Mhm.
And whether you think that or not, you still have to use wisdom and approach that in a way that validates the fact that, hey, this is what is already in place. This is what I have in mind for where we're going.
Mhm.
And let's see how this aligns, because that's what you're talking about. And that's what we're talking about today. How important it is for all systems to align in
Mhm.
order for us to see the kind of progress that we're looking for in our schools.
Most definitely. And good morning, Principal Kafele. This is
Hey,
where
Principal
we
Kafele.
we get the two doctors from. Principal Kafele calls us that. So you're right, Tammy. And the way that I was able, even though I was promoted within the school, becoming the principal was still something different than what I had previously done as the assistant principal. So growth was needed. There were some things that needed to change. And in order to get that buy-in from everyone, or that commitment rather, from everyone, I had a vision meeting with everyone, and we looked at every aspect, what the vision, what we were going to adopt as the vision, which was 1.5 years of growth for every student in math and ELA, but all the things that we needed to do to reach that vision. And once we got on the same page, which is what really fits into this framework that we have cultivated for other people to replicate, all of those systems and all of the things that we were going to do to reach that vision were things that align to every point or every part of the framework that we have, starting with that door of respect. How are we going to make sure that we have a culture of respect at our school that goes from the leadership to the teachers, to the students, to the parents, and to the community. How do we cultivate that? How are we going to do business here? What does it mean to be a part of this organization where we have that embedded and ingrained in everyone? So we had to really have real conversations about how we were going to do business, what the expectations were. And when you flush all of those things out with people and you make everyone a part of that conversation, people not only appreciate that, but now it's not, this is what I came up with when I have to go back and remind somebody about the conversation. Remember, this is what we decided. So you were a part of that conversation as well. And all of those different things really just helped to get everyone aligned to what we were doing at the school. Yes, commitment is better than buy-in because it involves a deeper level of personal investment and emotional attachment, leading to greater dedication, accountability, and long-term success. I agree wholeheartedly with that. And Principal McKeever Jeter, a shared vision, which includes all stakeholders, is definitely important. So we're going to show you just a few more aspects of the framework so that you can see how it helps with alignment. Let me reduce it so you can see it. Can you see the whole thing on the screen now, Tammy?
The whole first page, but it isn't full screen though.
It's still not full screen.
It's not.
Okay. I think that's probably as good as we're going to get it. But again, that alignment, what are those things that we are going to do that show that we're excellent? What are those things that are going to, those systems that we have in place that are going to hold everyone accountable, including the leader? What are we going to do to make sure that literacy, not just reading, but also numeracy, are improving at our school? And what are we doing to build leadership in our teachers as well as our students, but also the school leader and the leadership team as well? So the real resilient framework is what you saw on that first page. And the system involves leadership coaching, and the leadership coaching goes just not from the leader, but also the leadership team, showing you how to take all of those things that we talked about, the alphabet soup, the MTSS, the PLCs, and putting them on this framework to make sure that they're all aligned and making sure you have the right systems in place to keep them going.
And the important thing about that aspect of what we do is this comes from a place of experience. Like, this isn't something that we are telling you that we've been told. This is absolutely from our lived experiences, because there was a time when we were trying to navigate the process and to cope with all of the alphabet soup that Sheikah has mentioned before, because I mean, we were choking on it. It was so much coming at us.
Mm-hmm.
And there was nothing. There was no guide to get you through that. There was no SIT guide and no school improvement guide and nothing that was going to help us to be able to rise above that situation and know exactly what the next step needed to be. So we had to figure that out. And that is what we have this morning to share with others. We put together the framework for that reason. Like, we don't want anyone else to have to navigate that process alone, because there are tried and true strategies that will help you to align, so that when all those systems align, you start to see the fruit of your labor by seeing that it impacts the student achievement, and the commitment of the staff. All those things are part of what we can do when we're working with school leaders and their leadership teams.
And from the leadership team and the leader, we show you how to make sure that transcends down to teachers implementing it at the classroom level, where they're building relationships with students. And you do that through you can use the Building Relationships with Books program, but it also transcends down to the students. With the Real Resilience Framework for Students. So that same acronym is now all common language throughout your leadership team, with your leaders, with your staff and teachers. But now the students are speaking the same language. And when you can get everyone on the same page, speaking the same language, that's when you really start to see those true culture shifts, and that same respect, excellence, accountability, literacy, and leadership now means these things for students. And this is our culturally relevant social and emotional learning framework, but it's Create and Educate's 5 super strengths for real resilient students.
And they
That
love that real. Everybody loves to be able to keep it real,
they
because that's
do.
one of the things that we had to do. Like you have to be very real about where you're going, and the resiliency is so super important when you are in the midst of trying to sort through what's going on, because everything continues to go on. You're trying to figure this aspect of things out so that you are able to move the school forward, but all of the expectations are still there. So you
Hmm.
still have to do everything that you have to do to operate the school, and to keep staff motivated, and to keep students motivated, and to keep good working relationships with parents. And that requires resiliency. So we have created that frame so that we can see resilient schools, resilient leaders, resilient students, resilient teachers. And that again comes from having all systems aligned.
Definitely. And then you also would have access to our customizable PBIS poster pack, where again, that real acronym, that language, that common language and goals will be throughout your building. So you can be able to refer to, teachers can refer to it, students can refer to it. But again, it all goes back to that alignment. There's planners that are part of that as well, that even transcend down to the parents. And we make sure that people understand we're not just trying to sell you something, or, make sure we're not salespeople. We're practitioners. So, whatever part of this you need for your school to be able to be successful, we customize it to make sure that you're able to be successful and have those student outcomes that you need for your school. So whatever part of this that you may not need, we don't try to, give you anything that you don't need. We are only giving you things that are needed for you and your school to be successful, because that's what we want to see in other leaders and students. And that alignment is frequently referred to as the key element for success. So that's why this alignment framework can be so impactful for a school, because when things are aligned, you accomplish more, and then you're able to do it together. And alignment is also something that can maximize the potential success, which equates to strong outcomes for students, and then that efficacy that is needed for teachers. So, alignment is something that people struggle with, but our framework is proven, like Tammy said, it's based in research-based practices, and it's something that we can easily help any leader institute any part of it into your school to be successful.
Because we lived it, and we do appreciate that comment about parents, because parents are definitely a part of our partnership with Create and Educate. That's one of the reasons that we even started our platform altogether.
Definitely. Well, last week I got on Tammy because she went out of time. So
Oh
we
yeah,
are
it's time. She gets.
we are out of time. We're going to continue this discussion next week so we can get out of Principal Kafele's waves. But please join him next. Join Josh and Dean on Sunday for Unlock the Middle. And we look forward to continuing to talk about effective leadership and alignment. Thank you all.
All right, guys, y'all have a good rest of your day.